Hi, I'm Maria Allwine. I'm a local community organizer and activist. I am with the Maryland Coalition for BGE Re-Regulation. And this year I am running for the governor of Maryland. I'm with the Green Party. And I am making headway, let me tell you. People are fed up. People are angry about their BGE bills, even if the politicians try to avoid taking responsibility for it. And even if Maryland's legislators think that this is a dead issue from a legislative standpoint, it's not. People are still furious. And as I go around and campaign, that is one of the first things people say to me is, what about BG&E? Why isn't anything being done? We can't pay our bills. So I tell you, these politicians ignore this issue at their peril. Politicians ignore the issues that concern people at their homes, about their jobs, the fact that we don't have a manufacturing sector anymore. And I don't hear Maryland's politicians talking about that, getting really serious about creating a new green manufacturing sector, creating a program to repair our infrastructure that would create really good, secure jobs with benefits that pay a good living wage to people. We need to do that. And so there are many issues that I would love to talk about, but from the standpoint of BG&E, which is why we were here, we had a demonstration here earlier today in front of the PSC, urging them not to give BG&E yet another price hike. BG&E wants to raise the charge on their distribution as if it weren't high enough already, and as if we weren't struggling to pay those bills already, as we have been for several years. So we are urging the PSC not to grant BG&E any more rate increases. And normally the PSC is pretty pro BG&E because obviously they're appointed by the governor. And if the governor doesn't want to get behind this issue, which we all know Martin O'Malley lies through his teeth, as does Robert Ehrlich, about what the real causes are of the deregulation, who's responsible for it, and also who's not doing anything about it. And both Robert Ehrlich and Martin O'Malley are #1 responsible, both of them equally in my opinion and in the opinion of the Maryland Coalition for BGE Re-Regulation. Neither of them has done anything to mitigate what is happening to people and still happening to people. I hope they pay for it at the polls.
Now, Maria, is it true that both O'Malley and Ehrlich have taken contributions either from BG&E or Constellation Energy?
They certainly have. Now,
Do you know how much?
Last go-round, they took, Ehrlich took $80,000 and O'Malley took $70,000. So I challenge anyone to say that a politician that takes money from a corporation like Constellation Energy, which is BGE's parent company, is actually going to turn around and then force Constellation to a negotiating table, which is what I would do. You know, we need to re-regulate, and it can be done. That's the first thing. Second thing is, while you're working on that, you're dragging Constellation, kicking and screaming to a negotiating table to force significant rate concessions out of them. Now, in Illinois, 3 years ago, that is exactly what happened. They had a deregulated utility, and just as they did in Maryland, ratepayers screamed because they couldn't pay what's really legalized theft, so they couldn't pay the bills. The governor got behind, with the Illinois legislature, got behind this issue, and they secured significant rate concessions from Ameren, which is their utility in Illinois. It was over $1 billion over a period of 10 years. That makes a huge difference on people's bills. Why don't we have that here in Maryland? Why do we have our elected officials, and that's O'Malley and Ehrlich, and most state legislators saying, wow, we can't do anything about this. We know this was a mistake, but we can't do anything about it. And of course, what I say to them as I lobby them is, yes, you can. And here's what you need to be doing, and they won't do it. So my question for Martin O'Malley and Robert Ehrlich is, who really runs this state? Is it, we know it's not the people of Maryland, which if I were elected governor, that would change, but is it Martin O'Malley? Is it the governor? Or is it Constellation Energy? I think we all know the answer to that. It's Constellation Energy and large corporate powerful special interests that run this state. It's not the people. And they have these politicians in their back pocket. And in order to change that, we have got to start voting for other candidates. We must vote for independent party candidates. And I ask people to vote for me on November 2nd. We've got to start somewhere. We have got to start changing the way our system and our government no longer function for us.
It's probably going to get worse now with that Supreme Court decision that these corporations they're considered a person under the law, and they can just do whatever they want in these campaign financing things.
That is, in my opinion, the worst thing that's ever happened to our democratic republic. And it is the worst decision, the most blatantly anti-democracy decision ever been handed down by a Supreme Court that is now an absolute disgrace. I am in favor of a constitutional convention to fix this. There's a move. There is definitely a lot of activists involved in this issue, and there is probably something will happen eventually. I don't know what form it will take. We must fight corporate power. That is the single most detrimental thing in our lives, and it is what has turned government on its head so that it no longer works for we the people. It represents corporations, and we're left out in the dust. We're there to just, take the crumbs that they throw us, and they tell us to be happy about it. Absolutely not. People need to fight back. I've been fighting for 10 years. People need to get out and fight back.
As you traveled around the state in your campaign, have you noticed, is there any evidence that people are starting to wake up, that they're starting to be more conscious of what's going on and how they're being played by the Democrats and the Republicans, the duopoly, as Kevin Zeese used to call it?
I must say, I have been, I hate to use the word shocked, but I have, by this campaign. I've run for office before. I ran in '06 and in '07. And I have to tell you that I am not having to convince people to vote for me and to look at independent parties such as the Green Party. In fact, people are calling my cell phone, voters, saying, I'm not voting for O'Malley, I cannot vote for Ehrlich. How do you stand on a particular issue? So we talk. And I had a woman yesterday call me and say, I have 30 friends. I have 30 friends who are not voting for O'Malley, and these are Democrats, by the way. She said, what do you think about jobs and employment? What do you think about BGE? So we had a great conversation. She goes, well, you've got at least 31 votes. She said, I'm talking to everybody I can. But I will tell you, that has been happening as I've talked to people and as I've campaigned. People are disgusted with Martin O'Malley and very disgusted with Robert Ehrlich. In fact, I don't even want to make a distinction. They know that they're being shafted by both the Democratic and the Republican parties in this state, and they're sick of it. Now, we'll see how that translates into the votes on Election Day. But there has been a very profound shift this year as opposed to prior years when I've run and campaigned for office. It's quite dramatic, actually.
Anything else, Maria?
No, I just want to ask people to vote for me on November 2nd. Stand up for your rights, stand up for democracy, and stand up for the power that we've lost, but that we can and must regain. We have the power of the vote. They need those votes. Don't vote for them. Don't throw it away on them. Vote for an independent party candidate. Vote for me, Maria Allwine, on November 2nd.
Thank you, Maria.